Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, or if you're in a different time zone, um, good morning still. Uh, we are going to basically be having an in-class activity today for most of the lecture that is going to help you with the final assignment where you're going to have to deal with Ajax. But before we do that, we got to do some housekeeping. I see Matt is in the house, so to speak. Matt, did you have anything that you wanted to talk about?
Not really. I think I covered everything on Piazza. I should
Okay.
have the queries for Web Project 1 graded by the end of today, and probably have Web Project 1 itself graded by tomorrow.
Okay.
Um, so
Okay.
that's about it.
Okay. Sounds good. My housekeeping is to point out that there is no class on Thursday because it's a university. I don't know if it's a university holiday or if they're simply not holding classes on Thursday, but that's actually the wrong, sorry. It's the wrong class. It's the right day, wrong class. So let me change my lecture notes. And I may not be sharing my screen. Nope. So let me share my screen with y'all. Okay, so there is no class on April 9th. It's a university no class day. The university is still open, so I'll be holding office hours on Thursday as regularly scheduled from 2 to 3, but there's no class. However, because I will have a video lecture on jQuery put together. So you will still be responsible for watching the video lecture on jQuery. You can see that there is no lecture posted yet on jQuery, but I will post a short video lecture on jQuery, and you'll be responsible for watching it. You're also still responsible for the pre-class and after-class activities on Thursday. The lecture may not be posted until sometime on Friday because I need to do some grading in my other class. So the video itself may not become available until Friday. So again, no class on Thursday, but there's still a video for you to watch and that you are responsible for. Then next week, there is a lecture on the 14th, but then on the 16th, you're going to be doing something called Express, and there's, like today, going to be kind of an in-class activity that's going to make you familiar with how to do Express. So there'll be a lecture on the 14th, next Tuesday, and I have to determine whether I'll just show the lecture from last semester, which is pretty good, or whether I'll actually lecture. But for sure, next Thursday, there's an in-class activity I'll expect you to do. Now, today, there is an excellent lecture available that talks about JavaScript in the browser. So essentially, today's topic is how we are using JavaScript to make your website interactive. Because when websites first started, they were static and all you could do was read content. And it quickly became apparent that it would be desirable if you could update that content or change the style of the web page. For example, if you could enable or disable a form widget, or if you made an error in a form widget, you might like to be able to show an error message or highlight it in red. So you would like to be able to change different aspects of a form or different aspects of a web page. Another example is you might like to be able to update stock tickers or scores, or have a streaming news headline ticker. All of those things require interaction with the web page, and JavaScript was designed to provide that kind of interaction. So the lecture, the pre-recorded lecture, gives you all that information about how to use JavaScript to modify the HTML document object model, how to deal with forms with JavaScript, how to deal with events, and most importantly for today, how to deal with Ajax. Now, the readings for today also did a marvelous job of telling you how to do that. So I figured that the best thing to do today was to actually have you work through a real example where you use JavaScript to modify the contents of a web page, and you specifically use Ajax to do that modification. So in particular, you're going to be modifying a color palette. So let me show you what you're going to be doing. So you're going to have a website with a page that looks like this, and it's got colors. And you're supposed to be able to vote for your favorite color. So I'm going to vote for green. And you noticed it changed to 204. The other thing you want is that when you load the page, it shows the existing vote counts. And another thing we want to be able to do is if other people vote, so you can see me voting. And in a few seconds, this web page is going to update. You're going to see 205 update and 73, as you see. So every 10 seconds, this web page is going to update. Again, I'm going to update a few counts over here. You're going to see them update in a moment over here. Okay, they already updated. Okay, in a moment 50, it updated. So every 10 seconds, we update the counts from the server. So you need to do 3 things today. When the web page loads, you're going to load the vote counts and display them. If the user selects a radio button, you're going to increment that count and display it. And then every 10 seconds, you're going to update the display. And you're going to do all that using Ajax calls. The reason we use Ajax calls is that reloading the entire page from scratch consumes a lot of bandwidth. We don't want to do that. We want to incrementally update the page. The second reason we don't want to reload the entire page is when we do that, we temporarily freeze the browser. You can't interact with the rest of the page while the page is being reloaded. Whereas with Ajax, you can continue to interact with the rest of the page because it's asynchronous. It launches a request. You can continue to interact with the page. And when the request is satisfied by the server, it notifies the browser through a load event, and then the callback function is called, and you end up executing the callback function and updating the display. So let's just go through what you're going to do. I've just shown you, but If you go over here in 4.7, you'll see the color ballot lecture. Actually, you'll see color ballot in class. And if you click on that, you can see what you're going to do. Before you read it, I'm going to go through it. So you can read it in a moment, but I need to go through some things. First of all, there's a bunch of files. They have all been written for you with the exception of countbalance.javascript. So you're not going to modify any of the other files. In fact, if you have some questions about how to do things for either the second or third web project, these files are helpful. For example, both getCounts and ballotCount actually go to the server and they call the database with SQL prepared statements and output JSON. I'll show you that in a moment. And the exercise today shows you how you're going to be doing your Ajax calls in your web project, in your final web project. Although you can also use jQuery to do those Ajax calls, and I'll show you on Thursday how to do Ajax calls in jQuery. But today we're doing those Ajax calls in native JavaScript because it's good that you know how to do it. Okay, so first thing is that there is a colorballot.sql file, and that's going to let you set up the color ballot relation. So if we just go and take a quick look at what that looks like. If we select star from colors, you'll see that I have a small relation called colors with two columns, color, which is a string, count, which is an integer, and it has the counts for each of our colors, and that's what's getting updated. And what is updating it is getCounts and ballotCount. So first of all, let's look at color.html. So going back here and taking a look at the web source for it. This is what you're going, the HTML. Again, you're not going to modify it, but you can see that I have a script in the header, script tags, and I am loading countballot.js. That's the JavaScript file that you're going to be modifying. You can see that I have a form, and that form has a number of radio buttons. You can see that they have IDs. Well, first of all, they have each radio button has a value. It has something that you do when you click on it. You call submit ballot. And each of them has a label right here. So in this case, the label is called red count, and it currently has the value 0. Now, when you load the page, these values are going to be changed by your JavaScript code to the appropriate counts. And you're going to use these IDs in order to fetch the appropriate node from the DOM object, the document object model, and you're going to change it. And you can see up here in the body tag, there's an onload event. And when onload is called, it calls request counts. Request counts is going to call the server, and it is going to get back a set of counts. And you're going to update these labels, red count, blue count, green count, purple count, orange count, with those counts. And then when you click on a radio button, it's going to call submit ballot, and you're going to submit that ballot to the server where it's going to update. So to give you a flow of control, let me give you a flow of control. It's going to look like this. Oops, not that. So when you onload, is going to call request counts. What request counts is going to do, and you're going to have to write it, is it is going to, so this is request count, it is going to send a Ajax request to the server. And it is going to be calling, I believe it is calling get counts, but let me verify that. So give me 1 second here to verify that. That's not it. Okay, need to go back and look at my, okay, Web Home CGI bin. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to make an Ajax call, and you're going to call get counts. .php. And it is going to return to you a set of colors and their vote counts as a JSON array. So that JSON array is going to consist of color and count pairs. Actually, it's going to be, yeah, color and count. So it's going to come back to the client here. And in the client, you're going to end up with the, you're going to call a function. And that's not what I want. So just a second. Just a moment. I thought I had the skeleton in there, and instead I had the actual solution, which is not what I wanted. So if we go back here. And that's still not what I want. Huh. Okay, unfortunately, what I keep seeing is the thing with the complete solution. I don't want to show you the complete solution. So for a moment, I'm going to stop sharing. Just take a couple minutes to relax, get up, stretch. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment, and I'm going to figure out where my skeleton file is for count ballots. So I'll be back in a couple minutes. Okay, so I am back. Take a moment to finish up what you were doing. And coming back here to what we were outlining, when you come back from getCounts.php, it's going to have a callback function called initialize count. And initialize counts is going to update initialize counts is going to change the labels associated with each of the radio buttons and update them to the appropriate counts. Then, when the client clicks, so if you click So the next thing that can happen is that on the client, you have a click. So user selects a radio button. Okay. So when the user selects a radio button, again, there'll be an AJAX request. Actually, there'll first be a call. So on the click, there will be a function called. So going back here, you can see that on our page source, it calls submit ballot. So submit ballot is going to, so the click is going to call submit ballot. Submit ballot is going to make an AJAX call again. Actually, this time it's going to call ballot count. Ballot count is going to increment the vote count by 1 and return it. So it's going to return the updated vote count for that color, but only for that color. So it's going to be an integer. Okay, so it returns an integer, which is the vote count. And then on this side, it is going to be called, the function that you're going to do is going to be called update counts. So update counts then is going to get called. And it is going to update the vote count for the selected color. So you are going to write 4 functions. You're going to write request count, which is going to be an AJAX call. You're going to write initialize count, which is going to set the labels of the radio buttons to the counts. You are going to write submit ballot, which is going to send an AJAX request to the server with the selected color. And then you're going to write update counts, which is going to update the counts for that one specific color. So if you look at count ballot, this is what you're going to be modifying. I've given you stubs for the functions. Also, the initialize counts, not only is it going to, on the load of the web page, set the labels for each radio button to the vote, but every 10 seconds, it's going to call request counts to again issue an AJAX call. So the set timeout every 10,000 milliseconds or every 10 seconds is going to call request counts. Request counts, as I said, is going to send a AJAX request object to the server calling get counts to get the counts. Now, a couple last things before I let you go. The book in section 5.8 at the very end has an excellent example of how you can write your AJAX calls. So if you go to the book, and you go to section 7.8, and you go to the very end of section 7.8, let's see, not there. I guess not all the way. Right here, this example right here was Star Wars. So it's participation activity 7.8.5. This is a really good template to use for writing your 2 functions that are going to do your AJAX calls. And then the response handler down here gives you a really good template for writing the two callback functions, including the right function you have to call on the DOM in order to get your element IDs. So use activity 7.8.5 as your template when you're writing this. Second thing I want to point out, and then I'll let you go. If you want to get this to work, you will have to go into your PHP files and replace these three statements with your actual username, password, and SQL database name. The other thing I wanted to point out is how I'm returning the code to you. So it is coming back to you as an array of objects. And the array of objects is going to have color as the one key value pairs with the color, and count as the second key value pair in the array. So basically, when it comes back, it's going to look something like a list or an array that has, say, purple or color, purple, count, 10, then another one, say, color, whoops, this would only be color red, count 20, and so on. So this is what you're going to have. You're going to have an array of objects. For each tuple, you're going to have an object. That object's going to have two keys, color and count. The color key gives you the value of the color, and the count is going to give you an integer, which is the count. So that's the return value coming to you from getCount. So with that, I am going to turn you loose. Again, what you should do is go to color ballot. So you should, you should go to this page, which you can get to from in-class color ballot, and you should be able to read the instructions and do what you need to do, and I'll be here to answer questions. I'm not going to grade this. I am going to create a link, or I do have a link under the attendance for today where you can submit these files, and you can submit them till midnight. So I'm here to help you. And if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand and I will get to you, or just ask the question aloud and I will get to you. So you should get started on that. And feel free to work with someone. If you have a friend, feel free to work with that friend on it. You'll need to use chat because actually I think you're going to have trouble with friends. I think you're going to have to do it by yourself. If you can work with a friend offline, that's fine.